Hello guys, I have played a rapid tournament. Actually, this happened 2 weeks ago, and it's finally time to show you some of the games from the tournament. Here is starting list, and overall 60 players. You can't see all of them, but believe me, 60 players, and I was the top seed. Uh, 2 international masters, 3 FIDE masters, but there is an interesting point which you may notice. International masters with ratings of 2300, 2200, FIDE masters with ratings of 2100, 2000, 1864. This is a little bit weird. The point is that nowadays there are a lot of players with low ratings, especially in Rapid and Blitz. Eventually I won the tournament, but it was not an easy walk. Here you can see a list of my opponents. So I drew in round 3, and this is one of the games I will show you. I also gonna show you a game from round 2. Game 5 I lost on time. At some moment I was winning. In the end it was maybe closer to draw, and I just lost on time, so the game itself was boring. I'm not gonna show you this game. And also I'm gonna show you the game from the last round, since it was an important game. In case of win, as I did, I won the tournament. But if I drew this game, then I would take, like, I believe 4th place, or nothing special. Why games from round 2 and 3? First of all, round 2 I played against 1846, and I was playing white, and he played very well, and he was really close to make a draw. And round 3, my opponent played quite well, and I had no single chance to play for a win. And I was even under some pressure, and in the end of the game I felt like my opponent was disappointed with that draw. And by the way, this man is 60 plus years old, and he used to be 2200, by the way. Yeah, so that's why, like, don't believe to these numbers. A game against 1846. c4, e5, knight f3, something what I play regularly. Knight c6, d4, e d4, knight d4, knight f6. Here white doesn't have a useful waiting move, so it's like the best move is to take on c6. And dc6. First sign, it's a very wise choice by black. After b takes c6, white is better. After d takes c6, queen d8, king d8. Yes, I have pawn majority on the king side, but somehow it's quite difficult to get anything out of that. So bishop g5, bishop e7, knight c3, just developing pieces. Bishop e6, e4, h6. Here I thought maybe it was better to castle alone. But okay, I decided to play bishop h4, bishop g5. Oh no, here I thought about castle and long first. But okay, I decided to play this, bishop b4. So black's idea is obviously to take on c3 and then to take the pawn on e4. But even if not taking the pawn on e4, just maybe doubling my pawns. So I castled long, king e7. Now bishop c7 is not a great idea because of bishop takes e3, bc3, and then knight takes e4. So I played f3. Bishop takes e3, because otherwise what was the point of playing bishop b4? And like next move I would play king c2 with a good position for me, pawn majority on the king side. Even here maybe black is more or less okay, but I think the point is to take on c3, doubling my pawns, and simply rook ac8. The problem for me is that I have the bishop pair, but it's quite difficult to activate them. Yeah, so I cannot like do much to improve this bishop and this bishop as well. And also c5, for example, it's not clear if I can play this at all. because of bishop a2, because of knight d7 attacking the pawn on c5, and even simple b6 is also not that great for me. So what I played h4. The idea is to open up the position since I have the bishop pair. Just if I played, let's say, bishop e2, rook d2, rook d1, black could have played knight h5, then at some point rook d8, exchanging at least one pair of rooks. So I played h4. When I played h4, I realized that I missed knight h5, a very strong response, but actually what else to do, yeah? So my idea is I'm threatening h takes g5, then rook takes h8 and taking the pawn on c7. If black plays g4, then h5. Actually, I'm going to show you this one, g4, h5. And now the bishop can go to h4, pinning the knight. Also at some point bishop f4, h6 is a target, so h5 is a very smart move. But unfortunately my opponent played knight h5. The problem that I cannot stay on this diagonal because of g takes h4. So I play bishop f2 and b6. b6 with the idea of c5. I play g3, taking control over the f4 square. I also cannot develop my bishop at the moment because of knight f4, so I play g3, black played c5. So you see, what's my point of showing you this game? The point is to show you that nowadays, I don't know, it's always tricky. I never understand in cases like this. It's either I played, let's say, maybe badly, or my opponent played well, or all together. But the point is that nowadays there are a lot of players with like different ratings, like 2000 or even below that, and they know how to play chess. So everybody has improved nowadays. There is access to all the data, and you can learn your openings. You can improve all other areas of game. And you can play, yeah, some decent chess. So I played bishop e2 with the idea of f4, so aiming at the knight. So he played knight f6, and I played e5 because you see, otherwise next move he's gonna play something like knight d7, maybe then bringing the knight to e5. Also, like g4 might be an idea for black. Let's say if my pawn was on b3, then it would be an easy play for white. I wanted to say easy win for white, but okay, maybe just an easy play for white for 2 results, or maybe even for 1.5 results. And of course I would win easily. But with these double pawns, I cannot really play slowly, so I had to do something. I played e5, knight d7 and f4, and the idea is still the same, to open up the position. So I would be happy, let's say, to see gf4, then at some moment I would play h5 and bishop h4, but here he played g4, a move which I slightly underestimated. But okay, what else to do? I could have maybe taken on g5, hg5, and then playing f4, but then still g4. So okay, f4, g4, bishop d3, with the idea of f5, and it looks like white is almost somewhere, but f5. Here I have no choice because of this bishop being on f2 and being not so, like, being very stupid, like having no road for this bishop. Yeah, so I have to take on f6, king f6. Rook e1, finally developing the last piece. Rook e1, yeah, f5 for example, then simply bishop f7, and then you see this bishop is still kind of stupid. That's the problem for me. Rook e1, rook d8, rook cd8, actually a very a clever move. The rook was doing nothing on c8. The idea is to push f5 and then bishop goes to f4. But bishop f7, my opponent is ready for that. Now if I play f5, then knight comes to e5. So I thought like what to do. Bishop e2, attacking the pawn on g4. But now bishop e6. So my point of bishop e2 is to provoke him to play h5, then f5, and bishop goes to g5. With the pawn being on h6, it's like not a problem for white, not a problem for black. So he played bishop e6, and maybe here I was kind of thinking about like, what is it, a draw or what? Not earlier, because like what can I do if he's gonna play bishop f5, then maybe rerouting his knight to c6 or to e6, then white might be worse there. So I found f5, bishop f5 and bishop f4. So by cost of sacrificing a pawn, I finally activated the bishop, and bishop takes c7 is a threat. And I think there is one more threat. Maybe it was something about rook f1. So for example, rook c8 is a passive move, and I would play rook f1 with some ideas of bishop d3, bishop takes g4, some bishop jumps from f4. But even here he found the best move, rook d8, because it was it was not possible to save the c7 pawn. Knight e5 would be a mistake because of some captures there. So rook d8, the best move. Bishop c7, rook e3. Here I didn't find a nice idea. Bishop f4, rook c3, king goes here, rook c2, king b3, and let me remember what was it, but I was afraid of this. And then I didn't see this. But I was already like had I don't know, maybe 20 seconds. So I like rook d8. Yeah, maybe rook e3 was inaccuracy by black, by the way. Maybe it was, it was a better move. But okay, rook e3, king d2, rook e8, bishop f4, rook e6. Yeah, I don't know why not rook e4, more active. But even here, rook e6, taken here, knight e5, so knight is coming to f3, bishop f4, knight f3, takes, rook e1, and it was easier for black just to take on e1, king e1, and then bishop e6, and so exchanging everything, then maybe bringing the king here, and it should be a draw. But the way he lost was rook e4, bishop e4. Oh, actually, I stopped it here. But it was something like, let me remember. I think I played king e3 here. Or no, or maybe g4. No, g4, I think I didn't like this bishop f3, bishop takes g4. So probably I played something like this. Maybe he played bishop c6. Here I played g4. And here it's already a difficult position for black, probably. And it's also, in the game, it was something like this. I don't remember exactly, but something like this. And then I just bring my bishop to f2, king goes to f4, h5. Okay, I can even show you this. This is not exactly how it was in the game, but just to show you why white wins this position easily. So my bishop is controlling the f2 square and also helps my pawns to go forward. So it's like g5, g6, king goes to g5, and by light squares I push my pawns, so easy win. You might say that it was nothing special, but actually try to play against opponent who is like 700 points higher than you, and like making moves, some of these moves easily without almost holding a draw. This is a game against 1961. I played black, d4, knight f6, c4, d6. So playing for a win, g3, bishop g7, c6, castles. And you know, after the game I thought that maybe it was better for me to play knight e4 here, so making it more complicated. But okay, who knows what will happen. So I castled knight h4, bishop e6, and unfortunately b3, a very solid approach. d5 leads to more complicated positions, and I would have been happy to see d5 on the board, but unfortunately b3, d5, c d5, and usually I play c d5 here. So c d5, then knight c6, the position is equal. But since I wanted to play for a win, I decided to go for something unbalanced, and I played knight d5. My opponent played knight d5. And once again, like c d5 was possible with no problems for black. And that's why, that's why I often say to my students, I often say on my streams that make it simple, just don't complicate. Your opponent will find a way to lose. So if you start to overthink, if you start to okay, how can I play for a win? So you see it's becoming complicated for yourself in your head. So make it simple, they will find a way. If it is your fate to win a game, then you will win. And this was actually a problem for this tournament. Almost in all games, the time control was 15+5. But in all games, I was low on time. And I even, as I already told you, I even lost one game on time. That's weird. Of course, it's lack of practice mainly. And so I need to speed up. So I played bishop d5, e4, bishop e6, bishop e3, a very good decision for I somehow expected bishop b2, so at least maybe even c5 ideas, but bishop e3, really why he needs to put his bishop on b2. I play queen d7, knight f3, bishop h3, exchanging this fianchetto bishop, knight d5. Here, first I was happy to see this move. I thought my initial plan was just I can take in here, but then I realized that if I would prefer to exchange the queens, because my king, there are potential threats to my king. But if I take on d1 myself, then rook takes d1 and I cannot develop my knight to d7. If knight a6, then rook d7. Then if I move my queen away, then it's already about maybe getting under attack, which was not my plan for that game. So I decided, okay, I will play queen c8, just okay, we play queen c2, so I took on g2, king g2. Here the engine says that I had a nice move c5. Probably I should have played that, knowing what happened. I played queen c7. My plan was to provoke him to play f4, so weakening his king, and this is something I could use later. By the way, as you can see by the engine, f4 is not the best move, but as the game shows, it's okay. So once again, I don't really want to take on e5, so I played knight a6, at least developing my knight somehow. Rook c1, rook d8, queen c4. And here you can see he just squeezing me. Yes, he's just what do I do here? So after queen c4, what move to make? So I play queen a5, at least attacking, at least moving my queen away from this situation on the c file, attacking the pawn on a2. Simply rook f2, hold on, everything is under control, yeah. So I played knight b8, the knight was doing not much, and my idea was to play maybe knight d7 and knight f6. And now very good move by him, quite typical. By the way, you can pause this video and suggest a move for white. You can pause it here, and in 2 seconds I will give you a hint so you can make it an easier way. So a hint is that all our pieces are well placed. And since all our pieces are well placed for white, I mean, h4, a side pawn push. The idea is to go h5. So knight d7, h5. And yeah, probably I should have played e6, at least keeping it complicated, but then I was somehow like g6, maybe here. Yeah, probably this was, yeah, probably it was nothing for white, and like knowing what happened in the game, it would have been better to go for this. I mean, of course, after e6, white is not obliged to take on g6. He would do something else, probably. But I decided to take with the idea of playing knight f6 and defending my pawn on h5 next. But the guy is smart. He took on d7 first. Rook d7, rook h1. Now I saw that, let's say maybe queen e2 attacking here, or just any move like e5 or f5 is coming. So okay, I played rook fd8. Anyway, I have nothing to do. And yes, if I keep the queens on the board, then maybe I will be checkmated. So I decided to exchange the queens, rook h5. But you see the problem, I cannot play c5. I cannot really, I don't have any play, so I had to make an ugly move f6, which is actually quite reasonable. It's about maybe at any moment I can take on e5. It's also about not allowing him to play f5 himself in an easy way. Yes, maybe his next move f5 and then f6, e6 already. Here e6 is not possible because of the pin. So he played king f3, I played h6, king f7, g4. So according to the engine, this position is +1 for white. I was okay. I was mainly upset that I cannot play it for a win. So rook c2, rook b5, just playing something. Rook c1. Yeah, and here I don't remember exactly the move order, so I'm not going to show you what happened next. I escaped more or less easily, and then in the end, in the very end, I was even like almost winning, but it was far to that. Yes, so he survived easily. So this is a game by 1961. Yeah, a very solid game by white. Of course, you might say that it was my fault to allow him, like I should have taken cd5. Then yeah, maybe somewhere here like c5, which is not which is a typical move, but anyway, c5, like maybe just rook c1 and what next. So the point is that my opponent played quite well, and in fact, with what I got from the opening, I had no single chance to win this game. This is an important game from the last round against International Master 2200. However, his standard rating is 2350 and he used to be 2400. So d4, knight f6, knight f3, g6, bishop f4. A very solid approach by white. So bishop g7, just developing pieces. Yeah, by the way, here d5, I missed an interesting counter push. Yeah, e5 was stronger, but okay, knight b8, e6, knight c6, h3, rook e8, rook e1, h6, bishop f1, and bishop d7. I really wanted to play d5 somewhere, but you see the problem is that if I play d5, then e d5, knight d5, the bishop moves away somewhere. And my bishop is blocked by the c3 pawn, and while his bishop on g3 is a little bit annoying about the c7 pawn, and my knight on c6 is misplaced, so it's not clear what to do next. So that's why I played bishop d7, a waiting move. queen c2, a6, one more waiting move, rook d1, knight h5, bishop h2, and b5, at least some activity, because it's not really clear what to do. If I play knight e5, then white is just gonna take on e5 and that's it. Yeah, so not like, and also e5 is always an option for white. So I played b5, a4, here, a b5. White could have played many different moves here. Maybe knight b3, for example, is one of them. But he decided that it's a good moment to go forward, g4. And I remind you, whenever you weak your king like this, then it might always be a problem in the future. Not right now, not in 5 moves, not even in 10 moves, but maybe in 15, 20 moves, your king will get checkmated. So knight f6, e5. And this game is a good example of that, but I was low on time, so I didn't do that, but I still won the game. So d5, knight e5, knight e5, rook e5. And here, like, it took me really a lot of time to make a move. Eventually I played queen c8 with the idea of playing h5, but then once I played queen c8, I thought, couldn't I play h5 straight away? So it was a little bit weird. And here I was actually happy that he played knight f3 and not rook e8, because I played h5, g5, knight h7, attacking the rook. So he took, I took it, queen e4, bishop d7. And of course, if his pawn was on g2, then white would have been better, way better, because his pieces are well placed. My piece is somehow misplaced, especially these ones on the queen side. But thanks to the pawn on g5, I always have a something to believe in. Yes, I have a dream. My dream is to go on the king side and attack his king, or at least doing something there. And now already bishop g4. Yeah, by the way, the h3 pawn was hanging, so h4, bishop g4, bishop g2, knight f8, and queen e7 is inaccuracy, so the pin is here, which is a little bit annoying. That's why white should have played rook e1 prophylaxis, and now the knight can go forward, and white is better here. But queen e7 is inaccuracy. Now queen f5, knight d4. I calculated that because, you know, of course you don't really want to give up this bishop, but why not? Bishop d4. The point is that the rook is hanging, so white should play rook d1. Now the back rank problem, surprisingly, yes, having 2 pawns on h4 and g5, but still back rank problems. Queen b1 check, bishop f1. And somewhere here, knight e6 was very strong, and I even saw that move. But yeah, I didn't like rook g4, a g4, and something like queen f6 with bishop e5. Actually, after queen f6, there is queen f5. And since I was low on time, I made a safer move, bishop h3, queen e2. Unfortunately, I have no time to do something to, let's say, to play rook a8, rook a1. So knight e6, queen d1, takes, king f8, bringing the king, rook d5, c6, rook c8, bishop f6. And it might look like, how did you win this position? Yeah, but actually the point is that my knight is good, and his bishop is not terrible. But not really good, because most of his I wanted to say most of his pawns, all of his pawns are placed on the dark squares. That's the point. And especially the h4 pawn, which is fixed on the dark square. I mean, g5 is also fixed there, but g5 is defended by the h4 pawn, while h4 is a target for me. The only issue at the moment that my king is kind of arrested there, and my rook is also like the rook cannot move. So I played knight c5, f3, and then I played something like knight a4. Eventually we exchanged these pawns on the queen side, and the rest you will see in the video. This is the final part of this game, and I'm playing for a win, of course. Since my knight on f5 is way better than the bishop on f2, the h4 is a chronicle weakness, so the plan is slowly going forward. Rook goes to c3, giving a check, forcing white to move the king back to g2 or e2. Bishop e3, then maybe knight c4 or knight f5. Now there is an option of king f5, maybe something else. It's important to understand that for black there is no rush. Maybe rook c4 is something interesting. It's not clear if black is winning in that endgame or not. Rook d3, just a safe move, placing a rook on the light square. Rook goes to a7. Now we can play king f5, knight e4, rook d2. The rook is well placed on d3, so either king f5 or knight e4. Knight e4, bishop e1. Rook e3 attacking the bishop. The bishop goes to b4. Rook e7 is an idea by white. Rook e7, then there is king f5. Rook takes f7, king g4. The king goes forward, king f5. Rook f7, king g4. So some checkmate ideas. Rook b2, then the king goes to f3. Rook b2 check. Rook b2 check. And the king goes to f3. King f3 then might be f5. So knight d6 first, knight d6, and the knight goes to f5. The knight goes to f5, the king goes to f3. Rook takes g6. Now king f3, king f3. On knight e3 first. Five seconds, 4 seconds. Knight e3 first. King goes to f3 now. The idea is rook b1 and then checkmate is coming. Rook takes e1, king h2, knight g4. King h3, rook h1, checkmate. White cannot defend the bishop. The rook on g6 is useless. Rook e6, rook b1, rook e3, what else to do? King e3, king f1. And just take the pawn, yeah. Even here you can see by my hand how, like, no confidence, yes? Do you feel that? No confidence. And this position should be technically winning. Let's check his technique. Unfortunately for white, the bishop is very passive on e1, and the diagonal is quite short to defend the h4 pawn. Now king goes to f3. Rook e8, a waiting move. King f3 was fine, but once again in the endgame, if you are winning, then there is no rush. Now rook e4, and white is almost in Zugzwang. King d2 is the only move. Otherwise, if the bishop moves away, then rook takes h4. If g6, then rook g4. So king d2, white must play. Now if rook d4, then the king goes to c3. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, rook e8. Like one more waiting move, or almost like a triangle with the rook without triangle. And now it's finally time. King e3, yeah. White is almost out of moves. King c2, then king e2. So bishop g3. Now rook g3, rook g4, rook g4. Simply rook g4. Yeah, bishop should go back to e1 and then rook g1, but I played too fast, too fast. Rook g1 was an easy win. But okay, no problem, no problem. The position is completely winning. But rook e4 back, so not allowing white to play king e1, king f1. What's important, white can never play g6. Simply rook g4 and the pawn is gone. That's it, that's it. Actually, he can play king e1. Ah no, king e1, rook takes h4. So if bishop e1, then rook g1. So that's why g6, rook g1, intermediate check, no rush to take on g6, rook g6, and that's it. This position is completely winning. We can cut off the white king and at some moment take on the pawn on h4. But since the king is badly placed, so there are even other ways of winning. Also, the problem for white that the bishop is not on g5. The bishop is very passive. And now rook h1, threatening rook h2. And next move king e2, and it's time to resign.